Why indentured labor was taken by the British from India to their colonies? Have they been able to preserve their cultural identity over there? Now there are, in this case, three segments. First is what is indentured labor. Second is why is it that they were taken by the British from India to the colonies of the British? And is it that anywhere, wherever they have been taken up, is it that they can go on to preserve or they have been preserving their cultural identity in this region? So beginning with the first part. Of course, the first part was not required that much, largely because the definition is, in this case is not going to be asked here. But of course, it's a process of discussion, not exactly for the examination, but for the purpose of understanding of this whole of the topic. That's the reason that we intend to take it as a part of a discussion. This is a topic that is part of human geography, and you will go to find that is as part of the syllabus. It's mentioned nowhere at all as part of world geography. It's a part of world geography, and it has never been mentioned, no place at all in the whole of the syllabus. Now, the student in this case taking a look at in a queue at this question, they have to realize that is some of the topics that we have discussed in this case, in this entire of the series. At least two of these topics have not been part of it. For example, you talk about dead zones, they are not part of it. There is no way that you can go to think that is mantle plume can go on to be a part of it. And neither is going to be this topic, which can go on to be thinkable even that they can go on to ask such a specialized topic like that of indentured labor. Now, this means two things. The first is that now in general studies expected that the students must go on to have an optional level knowledge, as it with generally all the topics. That's one part. And the second is that in any case, when they go on to study history, they go on to bumping on this topic of indentured labor, and the moment they go on to develop their curiosity, they will be in any position to write something on this topic. So UPSC banks now on two themes. The first is curiosity is the greatest wisdom and peace is the greatest luxury. That's one of them. And the second is that now they have started believing that the honesty, the values, the sincerity of a person concerned is far more significant than the intelligence and the talent that they possess. So intelligence and talent that used to be the main plank of UPSC some time back is no more significant right now. And maybe that you have seen it that in ethics, for the last 6-7 years, since the inception of this syllabus and the changes that have taken place, they have been constantly asking on this topic in one way or the other. And this is a topic that is going to be completely banking on curiosity. Now, beginning with the answer of it, we talk about indentured labor. And indentured labor was a system of bonded labor that was instituted by the British following the abolition of slavery, particularly in the wake of the slave trade that they used to be having from the western coast of Africa, and that was real inhuman. Indentured labor was recruited to work under restrictive contract of employment for a fixed period in a foreign country in exchange for payment of passage, accommodation and food. Of course, out of the box, the British went on to promise to settle them in their life as well. So most of these indentured labor who went out of India, they married to girls of that region, they established their families, and you will come to know about different type of people who have been indentured labor, but they have made a huge brand for themselves. In cricket, if you happen to know the names of Alvin Kalicharan, Rohan Kanhai, the two batsmen, and some of the best batsmen that the world produced at that point of time. Rohan Kanhai and Alvin Kalicharan had been one. Then you will go on to find it had been Darren Ganga, then it had been Sheikh Fawd Amal Bacchus, and you will go on to find Rafiq Zumadin. So many of these bowlers, Shivnarayan Chanderpal, they all have been part of indentured labor. Their forefathers were from India. Their forefathers may have been either from either from Bhojpur or from Majamgarh, and they were taken all the way to Trinidad and Tobago. So indentured labor were recruited in work under restrictive contract of employment for a fixed period in a foreign country, and they were paid for their passage, accommodation, food, and if you can go to believe the British, they paid for their marriage as well. If not marriage, the wedding at least. Indentured labor was the means by which the British people emigrated to North America during the colonial era. They themselves emigrated in this manner, and in the 19th and 20th century it was used to recruit the Asian workers on sugar, cotton and tea plantations and railway construction production in the British colonies, West Indies, Africa, Southeast Asia, South Asia as well. For example, you're going to find that Tamils went on to Sri Lanka as an indentured labor. So they were to work in the plantation farms in that place. The British were able to take indentured laborers from India because of many factors, and one of these factors was the forced poverty of the people of India and its consequential effect in the form of heavy and revenue burden along with the suppression of artisans, families, etc. The forced poverty on the people we are talking about, that is, the British were the one who made it sure that the Indian people become poor. And of course, the people were very innocent, people were very, very, very value loaded. It was easy, they never knew any type of a wickedness as the present day people of India happen to know. But then, that was the aim of the British. They said that, see, we are going away from India, now we're going to leave all our servants. And that's why you're going to find even the Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister was the servant of the British, and his aim was, to take the entire of the British legacy along with it. And then all of this forced poverty that the British happened to impose on it, that was what was mostly important and significant for allowing the people to move out of the country. So this prompted the natives to search for any livelihood option. Second was the British policies on market forced restrictions on Indian exports, which flooded, and of course the flood of the import of the British goods. All of this created unfavorable conditions for Indians to either engage in business and trade inside the country, which is already devastated by the British policies. This was aided by a perceived instability during freedom, prompting them to decide to leave their motherland. Of course, perceived because, this is what the British wanted, that Indians must go to perceive that instability during freedom movement, all of it, and a good number of people left thereafter. Even after that, they left it. The third has been the indentured laborers were taken to various places to work on sugar, coffee, spices, cotton and tea plantations. Thus they migrated to Sri Lanka to work in tea and sugar plantations, to Fiji and Mauritius, to Suriname, Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago for the same, while some were taken to Somalia, Ethiopia, Uganda to work on tea as well as sugar plantations. Some of them were taken to work on rubber plantations in Singapore. Singapore was then going to be called by the name of Singapore. It was a part of India, and Singapore, because the British couldn't go to pronounce it, that's why they called it Singapore. We are a slave, that's the reason we keep on pronouncing the same way as the British going to name it. So any name that the British had given, we carry on. So we have changed the name of Mumbai also to Bollywood to insult it. That's a separate issue, but then of course that was for working in banana fields in Caribbean. Most of these indentured laborers, they remained and got themselves assimilated. Only sometimes they were not allowed to return and migrate to other places, as exemplified by the Comatagaru incident that took place in Vancouver, that was in Canada. That is, most of the times they remained and they got themselves assimilated. Sometimes they were not allowed to return. That was part of it, because they formed a chief architect of the labor force, and then they migrated to other places as well. Comatagaru incident in history You know that that was one of these greatest acts of treachery by an Indian, which laid water all of the plans that Indians have made, particularly the Sikhs have made in Canada at that point of time. In different countries, the impact was very different. For example, in Sri Lanka, they were able to carve a niche for their identity, and in not getting their due in the constitution, a major strife was created that threatened the division of the country, which till recently went ahead. In Guyana, Mauritius, and Fiji, they controlled the politics and form governments. They also speak chest Bhojpuri and purest form. This type of Bhojpuri is not even spoken in Bhojpur as well, because this Bhojpuri that is spoken in Bhojpur district of Bihar has been considerably diluted. They have been in Suriname, where they have influenced language. In Uganda, they have been so, which again they influenced language. So in Sudan, they're going to have good chunks of land. In Kenya, in Uganda as well, they form the lifeline of the economy of the people. And in South America, they now form one of the most influential of the communities. In Suriname, they are one of the most literate communities. Trinidad and Tobago also. And you will going to find a good amount of imprint of Indianness on these people. Maybe if you have known it, that is the president, the former president of Guyana, not Guinea, Guyana, was an Indian. Vasudeva Pandey was his name, and he came to India and he started looking for his ancestors in Varanasi and Azamgarh. But then this has been the impact of the indentured laborers.